Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Glenn McGowan. This is At Whisper, and today we're going to be talking about BMW E46 power seats. So we're going to be doing the removal of the seat. We're going to go over problems that seats have and cushion replacement. So the main focus of this video is for me to replace the bottom sport seat cushion out of my 330 here. When I bought the car, it had black leather sport seats in it, but the driver's side bottom was ripped, which is pretty common on these cars because they're older now. So I currently have different seats in the car, so we're gonna remove those. I'll show you how to take those out of the car without setting your airbag light off. I'm also going to do a whole disassembly of the seat just to be able to remove the seat cushion. So we're gonna remove the switches, and I'll show you all the motors and this common problems and how easy it is to kind of service and fix these seats if you did run into an issue. So you don't always have to just replace the seat. You can get a bottom cushion, a back cushion, a single seat motor, pull the seat out real quick, repair it, and get it back in your car. So we're gonna just go start right now by getting these seats out, and then we'll start repairing the old seat. So we just dropped our new clothing line. Everything's available at upholstery.com. Some of our new designs are Save the Sticks. We also have, it's not just the car, it's Corvette. And then on the back, we have our new logo. And on the right side sleeve of the hooded sweatshirts, we have our signature spark plug. We do have all these designs available in t-shirts and sweatshirts. We also have E36, E46, and also our basic, which just has logo on the chest, and then our spark plug on the sleeve. So check out all our products and our merch at atwhisbone.com. Okay, so this is my driver's sports seat here. Now it is ripped at the bottom here, which you can kind of see. Sports seats are different than the standard seats, and the way to tell is this. It has these bigger side bolsters and this like extendable knee support here. That's a sports seat. Standard seats are essentially kind of flat, and they have like a one-piece flat seat cushion. So the removal and disassembly is the same for seats. The sports seat's a little bit more involved because you have to unbolt this sliding assembly from the bottom of the seat, but it's not the end of the world. So sports seats are known also for splitting at these seams here. The stitching just kind of separates, so you could essentially take it apart, restitch it if you wanted to. I'm not getting into that today. I'm mainly focusing on this. I have a replacement seat cushion here that I got from one of the parts cars that came in through here. So now it's not in perfect shape, but you know, you're talking about like 21-year-old leather, but it's no cracks and no rips with the stitching and stuff like that. So you can condition it and kind of refinish it and make it a lot better. Plus it'll match the seat back way better than getting like an aftermarket seat cushion replacement, something like that, when they wouldn't look the same. So that's kind of the route I'm going with today. I'm just replacing this essentially. Now eventually if something nicer comes through here, then I'll replace those. But for right now, we're gonna work on getting this thing off and that thing on. Okay, I've got the seat on the bench here. So you're gonna need a few things: flathead screwdriver, side cutters, needle nose pliers too, just assortment of just basic hand tools. You're gonna need a 1/4-inch ratchet or some sort of drill with a 1/4-inch drive on it, a series of extensions, and then you're gonna need torque sockets, 20, 25, and 30. You're gonna need, I think, a 52 if you're taking the seatbelt tensioner off, but just torque sockets and just basic hand tools, what you're gonna need. So first things first, I'm gonna pull up this piece of trim here that just kind of covers the seat track that's closest to the driver door, and that just pops up. This one just kind of pushes in, and then you pop up the back and you move it forward, and it looks like that, and it just has these little push clips in it like that, and set that aside. So now is this whole piece here that has the seat switch inside of it. Okay, so there is on the back side here, there is a Torx 20, and we're gonna take that off. Like that, set that aside. And I'm gonna show you what you're gonna have to do here. So this is the back. I have an extra one of these pieces here. So back here is where the screw is, like this, right? So underneath of it, we're gonna turn the seat sideways. There's these retaining clips, one there, and then there's these smaller ones that actually hold the seat switch in here, and then there's another one here. And the tricky part is you actually have to go from the top of the seat cushion here, which I'll show you, and push down on this retainer here, and then there's another one in here too. So you're essentially trying to release this off of this whole like plastic frame piece underneath there, and we're gonna just kind of pop it off this way. So we'll dig into that right now. So I'm going to start underneath here and just kind of pop these up. Remove the spiders first, of course. And I'll zoom in and show you what it hooks to here once I get this thing kind of up. And now we're going to kind of push down and find that other retainer. Okay, now once you get this popped up, there are these front tabs in here that kind of latch in the front. So you essentially want to lift the back up first and then kind of move it forward and pull it off. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in and just show you everything here. So this is the back of that. This plastic piece is what it kind of clips into here like that. And there's the piece that you push down from the back, and you'll see how the switch is kind of mounted in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just disconnect the harnesses off of this here just to get this piece out of the way. Most of these you push down like this. Move this piece forward here like that. And that pulls straight out. That. This little one pulls straight out. And this one here will lift up. But what we're going to do is we're going to pull this switch like this here, these little tabs here. I'm going to pull these out. Lift this thing up. And now this piece is out of the way. This is the lumbar switch, so we'll pull the harness out. Leave the lumbar switch in there, we don't really need it. Move that out of the way. And then our seat switch here, you just pull up on this piece here. Like that. And now the seat switch is out of the way. So just to give you an up-close view, these are the little tabs that that black seat switch trim clipped into. There's one there, and then there's one back here like that. So there, that's where you have to lift up to help get this thing off, and that's where those little tabs go in there and in there, and that's where it hooks to in the front. So now we're going to take Torx 30 and remove this bolt here, this one here, and there's one that's kind of tucked in back here that you have to take out to get this whole piece off here, and then that one right there. In order to access this last bolt here, depending on where your seat cushion is positioned as far as the motor setting, like if you have it lifted up, like the front tilt motor all the way up, you'll be able to get to it. This is down pretty far, so we have to move this whole seat cushion up with this front motor here, the front tilt motor. So what I did, I disconnected it, and then I have a battery here, and I have power and the negative off of that battery, and I'm going to jump this seat motor by itself, and I'm going to power it up or down, whatever way I need to go. So you can take a drill battery, an extra car battery, make up some wires. Also, if you ran into a situation where forward back horizontal movement motor went bad in your car and you can't even get to the seat bolts to get the seat out, you need to like lift the thing up, whatever setting works, get underneath of it, find this main bar that goes across the frame rail to frame rail, get that motor connector off, and get the two bigger wires, and you can power that motor up and move it. If not, you have to go in there and take the motor off of it, and you can use a drill on that little drive shaft cable and move it manually to get the seat forward and backward, like if the motor failed for some reason. So it's not the end of the world if it's stuck in a position in the car. You can go underneath and power up the motor if the seat's bad. If not, take the motor out and you can manually run that little shaft in there. It may take you a little bit, but it'll get you to where you need to go. So now on this seat connector, there are two small wires and then a big white and a big black. So what we're gonna do is, first you can just try to see what position it goes. So we'll put the connector in there and we'll touch it. Now it's going down, so I need it to go up. So I'm gonna switch polarity there. Now I'm getting it to move forward here, and I'll zoom in here and show you here in a second. So now it's all the way up and I can see where that bolt is. This is the connector. You'll see there's a red, a brown, a white, and a black. And then we switch the positive and negative, it'll move it the other way. And then now you can look down there and then we can get to that screw. And this piece will lift straight off. And it hooks in the back here. There's like a little push clip like that. I'll show you like there. It just sits down in there. And then now your harness is on here. Just move that out of the way. Sit this out of the way here. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this front piece of trim off here. Torx 30 there, one right on the other side. And then you almost have to squeeze these little clips in here to pull this piece out. So needle nose pliers or something, squeeze them. Or you can actually squeeze them with my fingers here, like that. Like this. Here, that comes off of there. Set that aside with the bolts. I'm just keeping everything kind of where it needs to be so I don't lose anything. Now you can see how the seat cushion is held in here. It's just this plastic piece like this that kind of locks into the frame here like that, and you essentially can just pull it out like this. It comes all the way on the side here. It runs along the back here too, so you're gonna pull that up. You also have to take off this piece here, which is another Torx 20. And the thing that's holding a piece of the material in here is what they call a hog ring. And this is when you take your side cutters here. And when you put this back on, you can use a zip tie. You run this piece in, you put a zip tie, and you run it to this metal brace in the seat, the spring here in the seat. So we're gonna cut that to free this piece up, like that. It looks like there's two here. Cut those up, out of the way, and just take those completely out. It's almost like a big staple if you've never seen one before. So this piece is now off of that, and we'll be able to pull that back up and do the same thing down there as well. So now we're going to remove the back piece of the bottom cushion here, and it just clips into this little lip back here. So all I'm going to do is just push this in here like that and essentially pull it out. And that's all it is. As you can see, that just kind of flips and clips in there. So now I'm going to push the foam, because the foam's almost like stuck on there, kind of free that up a little bit. And there's a connector in here that you have to kind of just kind of work out and disconnect just so you can pull it off. It's for your heated seat. There's two connectors here for it, one. And the other one actually goes to your seat tensioner connector here, which I'll show you. So this is the seat belt receiver tensioner. It's on this bracket. So we have to take the connector for the heated seat out of there. So you can see this is the piece and it runs right in there. So around the back, there's these little clips. You just push in. There's two of them. It slides forward like that. And you would have to take this out if you were removing the seatbelt receiver tensioner for like an airbag light or a collision, because they retract. So you'd have to take this off. Now we're going to take the lid of it off. And if you look in here, you push these clips up on either side. That. And then that just slides off like that. And at this point, all this does is just pop right out. Like that. So we're going to remove that, and I'm going to slide this back on because some of these can pull out too, and also not to lose it. So I'll slide that back on for right now. And these are the little clips I was talking about that retain it into that bracket there. You're essentially just pushing each one of these in and in like that to release it. So now I have this harness free for the bottom seat. Just pull this out of the way because we're going to pull that through. Like that. And now I'm going to work on the rest of these here. And it's the same thing. These just peel up. And you can put a screwdriver behind it or just work it out with your hand. Just like that. And you can see the bottom cushion. Just flip the seat now and do the other side. All right, now I have it flipped over. This would be the bolt if you're taking the seatbelt tensioner off, and you would have to pull most of the harnesses out of that yellow connector, all but 2 if you had to remove that. So I'm just gonna get ahead and start peeling this up. Same as the other side, just get a flathead behind it to start it. If you push down on the seat cushion too, it kind of relieves it and you can just kind of zip it up. Like that. And that's what that looks like there. These were the little tabs that wrapped around that you hog ringed in, and there's one on either side, like that. So the next thing is we gotta move the knee bolster forward here, and we're gonna lift this whole thing up. And just make sure you pull your wire harness through so you can get this thing all the way up and over like this. And this is probably the most complicated part at this point, but it's really not that bad. Okay, so this is a zoomed in area for the knee bolster or the knee adjuster there. So there are gonna be 4 of these. These are the Torx 25s. Take those 2 out. Now there is a metal bar that runs along, it's part of the seat, along this tab here, and these little black metal pieces wrap around that bar. And you almost have to undo those because they kind of wrap around and hold that bar down. So we're gonna take some needle nose pliers and bend them essentially straight to pull this bar out, just so we can get this out further to get to the other bolts that hold it in. So this is the other seat cushion I have, and I'm just gonna give you a zoomed in shot so you know what you're looking at. So these are the pieces here that bar hooks into, like that, and then this is the piece here that would wrap around those like that. So you need to separate this just so you can slide the seat back, because there are bolts here and then the other 2 that are right here. And there's the other one there. So just to give you up close of what you're doing, you're separating this just to pull this seat back further to access these. Okay, now comes the fun part. So I have these like bent needle nose, and you're essentially just gonna be prying those little metal tabs up. Okay, once you have them off, you can just kind of lift the metal piece out of there. And at that point, it's gonna show us 2 more Torx, I believe they're 20s, let's see. Torx 20s in here. I'm gonna give you a zoomed in shot, what to look for here. One there, and then one there. And you can only access that by taking that bar off there. And once you get that out, we'll be able to slide this out further, and then we line up this other 2 screws with these holes, and they come out through there. Let's do right there. Set those aside, like that. Once you undo those, this assembly here, this spring, just disconnect that right now. This whole thing will pull right out of here. Set that spring aside there. There you go, I got that off. So before I put the seat cushion on, I'm just kind of getting a lot of like the crap and the debris out of here. It's pretty messy, all those years. So same thing as before. Start out with the front, we're gonna bolt that in, then put that little rod in, clamp those little things down, and then tuck it back to the frame. So fun fact is that I've taken a ton of these apart, but never put one back together, so we're kind of in the same boat. So if you had a regular seat, you'd be like done and the seat would be back in the car. It's just this bolster thing is a pain in the butt. E36 are the same way. It's just the way the thing's attached in there. Okay, so I got all of the bolts back in, and just make sure these side ones here, that you have that little round slide that goes in the track, that you put the bolt through that first. You don't just bolt the frame to the seat pan, because then it won't slide. So they're all in now, and now we're gonna tuck that rod back up onto those little tabs there, and then squeeze those down with the pliers to lock it in place. All right, so it wasn't easy, but I got that all tucked in there like that. So now we can push this thing back. Just tuck the back through. Okay, so just finishing up this last part, all you have to do is make sure you pull this tight and then hook this back up underneath here, like that. Now, the pieces of your seat, like this, that you cut the hog rings for, you're gonna pull these tight on either side. And what I'm gonna use is zip tie, like any size that you have, put it through the hole and just make sure it's tight, and then run it in one of these springs here, something like that will do the job. Run it through there like that. Even if you have to make a new hole through there, you can, because it's not a big deal. And then hook all this stuff back up, and then hook your connector back up into there. All right, so I'm just finishing up, getting ready to put the seat switch, bracket, and stuff back on here, which is essentially I'll be done at that point. So fairly easy install. Like I said, that little knee bolster thing or whatever, the adjuster, that gives you a little bit of problems, but it's really not the end of the world, and it's actually not super difficult. You just gotta take your time with it. Now, as far as, you know, if you had a problem with your seat switch not working, I showed you how to remove that. Now, as far as the motors are concerned, they do tend to have problems, and you can replace those. Now, there are 4 motors on a sports seat. Some are 3. There's like a front tilt. There's like a rear tilt, like up and down. There's a horizontal, which is forward and backwards, and then the back recline. Okay, so usually the back recline and the forward backward motors tend to fail because you use them the most, right? So there are 2 different styles of motors. So from 99 to like 02, there are motors that have a connector on it. So your driver side motors have 4-prong connectors for the memory, and then your passenger side only has 2, like this one. So that's kind of what to look for. Now, like I know, like I sell all the individual motors for these on our store, and I have specifically what one goes to what. So you got to know like your connector matches, and then what movement actually went wrong. Now, 2003 to 2006, they change. So they go to this style where it almost has a male harness that plugs into these motors like that. So that would be the difference 03 to 06. So sometimes if you can hear your motor running and the seat's not moving, in between the motor and the gear unit there is a shaft, which is this. And this is a braided steel shaft. So the company that actually makes your seats, they make seats for Mercedes, Mazda, General Motors, Ford, I think it's Lear is the company. They make, you know, most of the seats for almost every single manufacturer. They use this style from like the early 90s to now. So these things tend to go bad. They'll just grenade and spider, and then you can hear the motor moving, but the actual seat isn't moving, and this is typically the culprit. So I actually sell these through seatshafts.com. This is a stainless steel replacement for that, and these don't break like the other ones do, and there is no difference as far as, you know, there's like dampening effect from the spring. You don't feel the difference at all. I've had cars with these in it, and you don't feel the difference at all with the seat, and they hold up a lot longer than those ones that commonly fail. So that's kind of like the grunt of seat problems that go bad with these seats. So don't be afraid to actually like take your seat out and repair what's wrong with it, because the motors aren't terribly expensive, like 30 to 40 bucks for a motor, and you know, these replacement cables are like 20 bucks or something like that. So it's not terrible to, you know, spend hundreds of dollars for a new set of seats when it's just a $20 part. So besides that, I'm just going to finish this up now and then put it back in the car. Okay, so I'm getting ready to move the front seats. So the trick is this: you want to unbolt the seat first, and then disconnect the battery disconnect the connector, then pull the seat out. A lot of times you bolt the seat, undo the connector, you put the new seats in and put your seat back, then the airbag light's on. Mainly because the seat belt tensioner is a part of the airbag system. So that connector being disconnected can trip the airbag light. So to do it the right way, unbolt the seats so they're flopping around, disconnect the battery, undo the connector, and pull them out. So these seats, there's 2 nuts in the front. There's 2 studs coming off the floor, and they take 2 nuts that are capped with plastic covers. So you take those plastic covers off, undo those nuts, and sometimes in order to access those, you have to, push the seat all the way back to get to those. Once they're off, move the seat all the way forward, and then there's 2 in the back. So in a coupe, there's just the 2, and also if you have a sedan, on the seat track, that's where the seat belt is anchored to, which is another 16mm bolt. So you gotta take that off. Now, if you have a convertible, this is a little bit trickier. You have to move the seat even forward because there's a 3rd bolt in the back. There's 2 of them, and then there's 1 up a little closer to the seat track, mainly because the seats have the seat belt built into it, so it has to be anchored to the floor better. I mean, that's their engineering, but there is 5 bolts on a convertible. So you get the back out, and you're like, why is the seat coming out? Move it forward, there's 1 on the outside track too. So coupe's got 4 that you gotta take off and a connector. A sedan's got 4 plus a seat belt anchor, and a convertible has just 5 holding it to the actual floor. So that being said, let's get this thing out. So I'll move this back like this. There are little plastic caps. Take those off. You could always use a flathead too if you're having an issue. Take that off like that. Do the other side, and these are 16mm. You'll need a ratchet with a 16mm socket on there. These are usually pretty easy to come off. You might have to put like a breaker bar or something to get them loose because they can be a little tough sometimes, especially if they are the original seats. It's been bolted down for 20 years. They don't want to let go. Okay, once you got the nuts out, make sure that nothing, like the nut's not sitting in there, the plastic cap's not sitting in the track. Now move the whole thing forward. And this reveals that. So on a convertible, you would keep going forward and it would be almost up here like that. And when you have a sedan, the seat belt comes through the seat like this, and that other bolt is right on the inside there. So you have to almost lift the back of the seat up like that to access that bolt. But these are right here, and these are just bolts holding this down here. Okay, I'm just gonna leave the seat bolts back there. Now I'll put the seat back like this and just kind of run it back a little bit, just for clearance mainly. And at this point, it unhooks, and then there is our connector, which you would put a flathead screwdriver in on that black end and disconnect it, but we are going to wait to the other seat, then disconnect the battery. All right, so now I got the seats back in, they're plugged in, unbolted. Now I'm gonna connect the battery. And at this point, I can bolt the seats down. All right, so I got them back in. So I finally have my matching leather interior, which makes it look nice. All right, so that's a wrap. So all in all, pretty easy project. Is it involved? Yes, depending on what goes wrong with your seat, but don't hesitate to pull it out, get it on the bench, take it apart, figure out what's going on. Or if you have to replace those cushions, they're pretty easy to do. I mean, everything's essentially unbolts or unclips and peels right off. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Thanks for watching.